This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, I'd like to call the special village board meeting for Tuesday, January 11th to order. Roll call, please.
President Kardasky.
Here.
Trustee Paul.
Here.
Trustee Kubacki.
Here.
Trustee Zerbal.
Here.
Trustee Krieger.
Here.
And Trustee Flukie. Here.
Please stand for the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And please remember all our men and women throughout the world in uniform. I have no changes to the agenda. I need a motion to approve, please.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, tonight's exciting. We get to interview two candidates for the position of trustee in wards 1 and 2. We are going to start with Dan because he was the first application that came in. So if you'd like to take a seat in the front and state your name and address for the record, please.
Full name is Robert Daniel Marshall. I do go by Dan. Current address is 2800 Howard Commons, apartment 113 in Howard, Wisconsin, 54313.
Okay, thank you. So we have a list of questions here. I'm going to have Trustee Paul start with the first question, and then each person will ask a question and answer as truthfully as pretty easy questions.
Just truthfully.
Yeah.
Okay, Dan, here we go. First question. Have you lived in Ashwaubenon for the last 28 days?
No, I have not.
Can you explain why?
We moved here, my wife and I, Leah, moved here from California to take care of her parents who are elderly. And while we were going to build on Early Street in Ashwaubenon, next to my in-laws. However, we've decided not to build there, and we're buying a home that's being built on Alden Circle in Ashwaubenon. I guess it's where Schneider used to be.
Right.
However, it's not. Our moving date's not till the 25th of February.
And you're moving when?
Our moving date is the February 25th.
Oh, February 26th.
5th.
Fifth.
Yeah, well, it's still a moving date.
Okay.
It was supposed to be the end of December,
Okay.
then January.
How long have you lived in California?
I lived there my whole life up till last April. However, we owned a condo on the river in downtown Green Bay for the last 7 or 8 years, and I've come out to Wisconsin to go, for many different events over those last 20-something years.
Were you born and raised here?
Born and raised in California.
Oh, in California. Okay. I guess I'm asking too many questions. We'll let the next one go on. That would be you.
Keep going, you're on a roll.
That would be you.
Dan, why did you decide to apply for this position?
I wasn't aware of the position until a friend of mine who actually lives on Early Street also, Brian Tommy, suggested I should apply for it because he said I'd be really good at it. So I researched what it was, and I thought I would be good at it.
Can I ask why you thought you would be good at it? Do you mind if I jump in or not?
I've been in sales for the last 30-something years, so I do have a good idea on how to work with people and what the requirements are. I was in the high-tech computer sales for IBM, HP, Hitachi. Then when I retired from IBM in 2017, I started doing real estate, more as something to do in retirement, which is, even though it was much smaller scale, it carried the same benefits of reading what people's needs are and trying to fulfill them.
Dan, were you involved in any similar community government in California?
I was on the HOA board for the last community we lived in California. I did have a reference letter from the president of that, but he over-embellished so much I didn't want to include it.
Okay. Jay.
Have you ever attended any village committee meetings or board meetings or anything like that?
For Ashwaubenon? No.
For Ashwaubenon
No.
or even?
In Marietta, yes. Most of the time it had to do with traffic control on community streets. In fact, attended a meeting like this and spoke and wrote a letter to the community. It mainly had to do with people speeding through neighborhoods and not stopping at stop signs. And
So have you ever had an interaction with a alderman or another village trustee or something like that in the past?
only
Other
within
communities?
that, those meetings with Marietta. That's the city of Marietta in Southern California. It's in the Temecula Valley area, if you're familiar with it.
Jay, do you mean anything political?
No, I was just more interested, how much experience have you had with a local government type of thing? So that's kind of where my question was
Well,
coming
the HOA is a quasi-government,
from, right?
so I actually
Okay.
was on the board of a quasi-government entity.
In your time taking a look at the village of Ashwaubenon, what do you see as the biggest problem or problems that exist in the village? And how would you work to solve these issues?
Well, what I've observed was along the river, it looks like there's renewal going on. And how can that be done in a safe and effective manner? In a sense, to beautify Ashwaubenon. Redo seems like they did a pretty good job with the Bay Harbor Circle community. And the community we're moving into, Alden Circle, looks like they're going to do a pretty good job there. There's a bridge that I guess is being worked on to go across Ashwaubenon Bay. So those types of efforts that beautify the city and provide public services.
Thank you.
This position will be appointed to finish the term of Trustee Williams. If you are or are not selected, would you seek election for this position in the spring of 2023?
That would depend on how I like doing this.
If you weren't selected, would you consider running also? Let's say you weren't selected at this time, would you consider running in 2023 when the position opens as well?
That would be a possibility. Again, it depend on how I like Ashwaubenon over the next few years.
Okay. As a trustee, you will work with the board to make policy decisions for staff's direction. What is your vision for the future of Ashwaubenon, and how would you balance economic growth with residential needs?
Well, first and foremost, I'd want to represent the views of the residents of wards 1 and 2. Not bring necessarily my views or my opinions or my needs or wants, but those of the residents. There's going to be, I assume there'll be a budget set forth, and we'd want to maintain that budget or even come in under budget in current supply chain environments and other, what do they call, uncertain things going on, whether it's Corona or whatever. I mean, it's, be difficult to stay within those parameters without, I guess, pretty strong discipline.
Yeah, that has really thrown a wrench into a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, does anybody have any other questions for Dan?
Just a brief question. How would you describe your method of interaction and working with others on projects and on programs that are both large and small? How do you interact with other people? How do you go about conducting your business relative to projects and programs?
Amongst, staff that would be implementing?
Just in general in nature, you could put it into the format of how you would do it here, working with the village board and staff.
Oh, I'd have to know what the objectives are. And I guess determine who and how can best achieve those objectives.
Thank you.
Can you give me an example of a difficult situation that you were kind of in, that that you basically had to solve, and I'm speaking of interaction with other people, and can you kind of tell me how you went about that?
Well, in a sales, I actually did have quite a bit of interaction with government entities when I was in sales. And one of the more difficult parts of that is just determining when and how to get an appeal from them. Because agendas change within, political environments. So it's just, you have to stay on top of things, stay on top of people. Don't sit back and wait for something to happen. Don't be afraid to ask where we are. I had a sales manager one time when he asked another sales guy, how's your deal look? And the sales guy said, well, my deal looks good. And the sales manager says, my lawn looks good. How's the deal? So you need to get some concrete information on where we are in a project. Don't necessarily just take, hey, things are going well. There's priorities and there's objectives.
So how long have you been around the Ashwaubenon area then, in the Green Bay area?
Well, 20-something years.
Okay.
I mean, my in-laws have lived here for well over 50 years, 57 years.
Okay.
Oh, my father-in-law passed away last week. But yeah, so my wife and I have been coming out here. Well, my wife was born and raised out here in Ashwaubenon. And that's why we moved out here to take care of her elderly parents. So I've been coming out here for over 20 years.
Dan, why did you decide to move to the present place that you're building your home? What drew you there?
Well, we were going to build next door to my in-laws on Early Street, close to the, Colette, basically Colette and Early Street. However, supply chain issues, delay of building, cost of building overall made it to where it just wasn't attractive to be able to build there for what the cost would be and the timing. Alden Circle was more readily available, fit our needs, and it's on the water, it has boat access, so for recreational purposes, it's great. And for, we will travel back to California to see the kids and grandkids. So to be able to lock the door, it's more of a condominium duplex setup. So you can lock the door and leave and not have a lot of maintenance issues going on. So those are probably those would be the two main reasons. And it's about a mile down the road from my in-laws.
Okay, so you're quite familiar with that area to start with for the years that your in-laws lived there?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Any people you know at Alden Station?
Only the people we met at a Christmas party a couple of weeks ago. We do know, Allison, who used to work here, we met her there and talked to her a bit. Was it Murphy in the morning? So met him. So the folks in that neighborhood we've met, but I wouldn't call them close friends or anybody. We were acquainted with them and we look forward to becoming close friends with some or all of them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
One other quick question. Dan, you said you grew up in California.
Yes.
So are you going to stay here during our nice winters? Is that something that you'll stay in town, or do you typically go away to California and spend the winter there instead? Or
No, that's not. We will travel back and forth. Like I said, there's kids and grandkids there. But, to go back there to live for an extended period of time, not really. It does get cold there. I talked to my daughter this morning. She said it was down into the 50s.
Oh, my.
Oh, it's too bad.
It was 70 in my office.
Is that Northern California then?
No, Southern California.
Southern?
You know where San Diego is?
San Diego, yeah.
So north of San Diego, kind of inland, between about 60 miles in between Orange County and Palm Springs was the last place we'd lived for the last 20-something years.
Okay.
It's a Temecula Valley. There's wine country and a very nice place. Just chose to move out here to help with her parents. And I hunt and fish and coming out here doing those things, seasonally for 20-something years.
Okay.
Haven't ice fished yet.
I have a question. You said in California you were involved in looking at traffic control or helping to get traffic control on the city streets there because people were speeding and running stop signs and all that good stuff. We have the same problem here.
Right.
Did you guys come up with any solutions from you working with them that really seemed to work?
One solution was hilarious. And it wasn't, we didn't, the people didn't decide it, because the residents were saying, well, let's block off the streets, let's make it private. Well, you can't necessarily because it's a public street, but even if you did, you want to maintain it yourself. We'll put gates on both ends. Well, you can't really do that, or you can if you have gates on both ends with egress and regress. So they tried a neighborhood quieting where they took a straight street but made it curve, which nobody liked because that took away the parking on the streets. So eventually it was a combination of additional stop signs, and they called them speed humps. I don't know why they called them speed humps. They were speed bumps. But, put in, stop signs and speed bumps. Humps.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Dan.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next we have Kelly Bogart Service. Please state your name and address for the record, Kelly.
It's Kelly Bogart Service, and it's 2609 Bay Harbor Circle, Unit 4, Green Bay 54304. So we're actually going to be neighbors. The Alden Station and condos are right next to us. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, seeing first again?
yeah,
How long have you lived in Ashwaubenon for the last 28 days?
Yes, my husband Rob and I moved just over a year ago.
Year ago? Okay.
We had been in the town of Rockland for 31 years before that.
How many years?
31.
31 years in Rockland?
We're one of those people who decided to test the market when the market got hot because we had a big home on the water and it sold in like 10 minutes. So then we were like, we need a place to live.
Okay.
And we were lucky to have an opening at Bay Harbor right when we needed it, and we've been there for a year.
Do you belong to any associations at Bay Harbor?
I'm part of the condo association, yes. I think-
You are in the condo association?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
okay, and Chris?
Kelly, why did you decide to apply for this position?
The timing was right for me personally because we have 2 children. Our youngest just went away to college, so now I have more time that I could devote to something like this. And I feel strongly that everyone needs to serve their community in some capacity. You can tell from my resume, I've been on other boards. I have been basically a professional volunteer since I quit working full-time and stayed home with my children, but there's always somebody who has to be the team mom or the room mom or the whatever, and when people were working full-time and I wasn't, I was the person to volunteer to do that. So I have the time. I think I have the skills that would benefit a group like yours. I'm a good critical thinker. I am a good at time management. I understand the value of group decision-making. I think it's important to build consensus if you can. I'm not afraid to say, I don't know the answer to that, but I will find out for you, and I'm happy to do research or clerical work, whatever capacity you need.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Have you ever attended any village committee or board meetings or anything like that?
Not here, but we were in the town of Rockland, but our school district was Wrightstown.
Okay.
I did go to a lot of Wrightstown school board meetings and village meetings when it involved, I lived on County Highway ZZ, and there's a huge reconstruction project going on. So all of our neighbors and I would go when it was our section of road that was being talked about, just for information. And I didn't ever present anything at a meeting or anything like that. I was just in the audience.
Yeah, but you've been part of it, you've seen how it
Yes,
operates. Thing, yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Before I ask the question, when you were employed by Godfrey and Kahn, where were you based out of?
Green Bay.
Green Bay, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that being said, in your time in Green Bay and in Rockland, what do you see as the biggest problem with the village of Ashwaubenon, or problems, and how would you work to solve those issues?
I feel like it's an unfair advantage because you got the question first and I could sit there and come up with a good answer. But I will say I have not encountered any problems in Ashwaubenon. I think your biggest problem is staying on top. I mean, when you think about what you have to offer as a community compared to the other communities around you, you have incredible retail, you have a great economic base, you have all of the different options for housing that you can imagine, single-family home, condo, apartment, and the parks. I mean, one of the things we wanted to do as a couple, my husband and I, when we moved here, is over the course of the summer, bike from our condo to every park in the village, and we did not make all of the parks. It's incredible what you have to offer here. So I would say your biggest problem is balancing what you were asking Dan about, how do you balance meeting the needs of the economic people and the retail people and the residential people. I would be looking for help from those of you with experience on the board on that one, because that's got to be quite a job.
Okay, thank you.
This position would be appointed to fill the term vacated by Trustee Williams. If you are or are not selected, would you seek election for the position in the spring of 2023?
I would seriously consider it. I'm guessing if I don't get this appointment, I would be contacting you to find out if there are positions on committees that need filling or something like that to do in the meantime, but I would seriously consider it. I mean, I guess we'll have to see if Dan does a good job before I would run against him, so we'll see.
You know, obviously for your background, you're an attorney by trade. How do you think, with your work that you did you work a lot with municipalities at all? It looks like you didn't do a lot, but maybe I didn't see it in there.
I was very little, to answer your question. I did very little. The municipality I did the most work with was the town of Scott. And for the first, I would say, 5 years of my tenure at Godfrey and Kahn, I was low man on the totem pole. So I did that then. And then as I matured and kind of developed preferences, I kind of funneled more into labor and employment law and did a lot of the gender discrimination because it worked out well for, you have to remember, this is back in the 90s. That was the huge sexual harassment explosion. So it worked well to have a female attorney when most of the plaintiffs were women. Otherwise, it looked like a man beating up on this poor woman who was filing a complaint against her former employer. But it felt more like a fair contest if it were two women. And so that kind of became a subspecialty of mine, to do a lot of the gender discrimination cases.
Okay. As a trustee, you will work with the board to make policy decisions for staff direction. What is your vision for the future of Ashwaubenon, and how would you balance economic growth with residential needs?
Like I said, I don't have experience with that. I would be looking to those of you who've been on the board for however long you've been there to see what's been done so far. Maybe reach out to other municipalities, see what they're doing. I would be looking for help on that one.
Okay. Does anybody have any additional questions for Kelly?
I do. It looks like you're involved with Leadership Green Bay, the class of 1992.
Yes,
What was your project for that? Did you do one or do a group one with somebody?
we did. We did a business plan, and I was trying to remember the business we did it for. I think it was another nonprofit. It might even have been the Y, because I was involved at the Y then. And our group did a business plan for them and then helped them implement it.
Are you currently on the Botanical Board?
I'm sorry?
Are you currently on the Green Bay Botanical Board Committee? No.
Nope, I was on that board for my 9 years and then just became a volunteer after that.
Asking the same question I asked of Robert, how would you describe the manner in which you work with others as it relates to projects and programs and coming to solutions that work for all?
I would say I have experience with that from work and from the volunteering I've been doing. And I have found it really helps if the group can have a clear mission and then everybody feel like they contributed and build as much consensus as you can. It's not likely that you're going to have 100% agreement all the time, but I have experienced that even if people aren't 100% on board, if they feel like they contributed and they were heard, it goes much better.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Kelly?
Kelly, can you give me an example, kind of like what I asked Dan, of a situation where it was a difficult situation between people or whatever, and you kind of had to resolve it? How did you handle it? What did you do?
Sure. The one that came to mind was one of my former clients, and this is again back in the days that where all the rules about gender discrimination were just being formed, and this man was a very charismatic individual, and it was his company, and he was, mid-60s and had brought it up from nothing to this big success, and he could not stop saying things to his staff like, "Oh, sweetheart, you have your hair in a ponytail today. I love it when you wear your hair in a ponytail." And we would be like, "You can't say that." And he'd be like, "What? I said she looked nice." Or, "Oh, I love when you wear that suit," or this and that. And he was just a jolly, and this was his company. And every time we would talk to him about it, he would be like, "But it's my company and I'm a success and I'm saying nice things." And basically it was education. It was education that got him over the hump. And I think that works in a lot of situations. If there's conflict, maybe somebody just needs more information about something, and then that would resolve the conflict. So I would say I would try using education.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments for Kelly? Okay. Thank you, Kelly. Okay, now our legal counsel, Mr. Adam Marshall, will give us the legalities of what we are to vote on.
So what we'll be looking for tonight, there are multiple options. There would still be an opportunity for discussion among board members. In the totality, you can choose between a couple different options tonight. You can either choose to make a motion to appoint one of the candidates who have been interviewed here today, and make that recommendation, go through that process, and that would pass with a majority vote. You could also make a motion that would table the discussion to a different board meeting to provide more time for either consideration, other candidates to apply, or choose to leave the seat vacated until the next election. You could also end up choosing to do a special election if you'd like to do that as well. It really just depends on what everyone would like to do and what sort of motion would come forward. Just with hearing some of the information tonight, we do want to also take into consideration residency requirements. Just looking at that, for somebody to be appointed to the board, you want to make sure that they're actually also an eligible elector in that municipality. That is going to go under Chapter 6. That's going to require a 28-day residency requirement. That is something that could be brought forth and debated as well, whether there is residency. So that would be something that could come up. So if, the board has a decision tonight, they can make that. Also, if they'd want to table it and then wait until, there might not be any questions about a residency requirement, that would also be a possibility as well. And of course, if anybody has questions, please feel free to ask.
Well, I feel the board should have some discussions privately to see what our thoughts are and go into closed sessions to do that, and then come back out and make a decision if we do make a decision on what we're looking for.
And the only thing I would caution in on that at this point is that looking at our agenda tonight, we didn't have a closed session exception that was publicly posted. So I believe and let me actually just make sure I scroll through all of it. Okay, there wasn't an additional one. I do believe that we'd want to have that on the agenda if there is a closed session discussion that we want to have. So I think if that's what the board inevitably wants to do, then we can set this up for another meeting, taking into consideration everything that was heard tonight, and then move into closed session at that time. That would also leave the board to sit and think about, everything that's been presented by the two applicants tonight.
Well, then I would suggest that we do what we said, put it on the agenda for the meeting, the board meeting on the 20, whatever it is, 27th, I believe, 26th, 26th, 25th, whatever, and then have it on a closed session, make it on a closed session, and then make a decision, if we make a decision at that time, on who we would prefer to choose.
Joel?
Just real quickly, hi there, I'm Joel, village manager. I snuck in from another meeting. Adam, could you confirm that the board is able to meet in closed session to deliberate these candidates for appointment to an elected position?
So that's one of the, running through the typical exceptions that we usually would go into, the closest one is going to be employee, and that's not really applicable here. I'll have to pull up Chapter 19 here really quick to see if there would be a consideration specific that appointment would fall under. I don't believe an appointment is a specific exception. It may be able to be rolled into an exception, but I've never had it happen for any of our other municipalities.
Well, I think that I'm comfortable enough. Dan, I very much appreciate you stepping up and everything, but the fact that you aren't living in the village at this time and you're coming to the village and you haven't been around Ashwaubenon that much, I feel very comfortable at this time, respectfully, Gary, to make a motion that we appoint Kelly Bogart Service as the trustee for Ward 1 and 2.
I likewise feel comfortable that I think we've heard enough to make a decision tonight, and I would second the motion that Jay has made. Is that acceptable, Adam?
That'd be acceptable as a second. So with the motion seconded, we'd want to do a roll call vote for an appointment.
Okay. Does everybody understand the motion? It is.
Say it again.
The motion is to appoint Kelly Bogart Service to finish the trustee term for wards 1 and 2. Okay?
Ready?
Ready.
President Kardowski,
Yes.
Trustee Paul,
No.
Trustee Kubaki,
Yes.
Trustee Zerbal,
Yes.
Trustee Krieger,
Yes.
and Trustee Flukie.
Yes.
Okay, that's 5-1.
Okay, 5-1. You are it, Kelly. Thank
Robert,
you
like
very
to-
much, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan, thank you for your
Thank you very much,
interest.
Dan.
Yes,
Thank
And,
yes.
you know, if you have continued interest, there's going to be other options and other opportunities too, and we've got 2 qualified people, and
Yeah.
that's,
Correct.
that's the good news. The bad news is someone's not going to get it, you know,
Right.
so.
Said in 30, 40 years of sales, I didn't win every deal.
Yeah, please look at some of our committees and things. Maybe there's something else you're interested in, so we'd love to have you get involved, so.
We typically, I get a list every year, usually in March, of the committees that are going to have members that are their terms expired, so I will give you a call. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay, so we'll be contacting you, Kelly. Congratulations.
So I think the big thing for Kelly is when we contact you, we'll have to do an oath of office. So Chris Teskey, our clerk, will be reaching out to you to set that up. Once that oath of office has been completed, then at some point we'll set up email and things of that nature. So I'll be making contact with you to set that up, and you'll begin more or less your official term, if you will. Your first meeting will be that January 25th meeting.
Don't go out there.
No.
Okay.
Kelly, also feel free, because it's going to be all new to you. I mean, when I got put on, I was like, what the heck? Please feel free to reach out to Joel or Mary and sit down with them and talk to them, because it'll help you get your feet under you a little bit sooner and feel more comfortable. So I would encourage you to do that, because they're good. They'll tell you, give you the scoop and help you get started, so.
Yeah, just a word of, we've got a great group here. I'll speak for all of the people that we work with here, and we've got a great staff, and we've got some exciting things, and I liked your comment about staying on top. I think the one thing that has set us apart is our board and ability to get along and act in a very professional manner and get things done, and we're committed to staying on top, and it's good to see you see that and appreciate that. So we all look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Kelly.
And Kelly, tell your husband hi from Jay.
Congratulations. Welcome.
Thank you.
Like I said, I'll be contacting you, Kelly. So, okay, I need Just-
Yep, motion to adjourn.
just a motion to adjourn.
I just want to make a comment.
I do.
The only reason I voted no is we did not need another lawyer on this board. She interviewed very well. I will have to agree with you.
I hear you. I hear you, Gary. I hear you.
That's nothing against you.
Pesky lawyers, man, I don't know.
Okay, so now I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Aye.
This conference